Internet
Hello there!
friends! Hooray!
Yay!
We're smarter than the internet today.
It only took us 3 tries this time.
I don't know why we're so bad at this.
I think we need to take some lessons from Aaron.
Wait, you know how? Okay, that Aaron. You know how many fucking Aarons I know? A
Is that like
lot.
how many Johns I know?
Well, I probably know all of the same Johns that you know. So also phrasing. Um,
Yeah, well,
that
I,
guy,
I have to have phrasing issues if I'm going to be talking on the internet.
especially to me,
Mm-hmm.
as I am. I don't want to say well known for having a dirty mouth, but um, I mean, I have had people on the internet tell me I curse too much, so that's a problem.
I mean, they had to bleep my first episode of Ballistic Radio, so.
They had to. Okay, I've been on Ballistic Radio 2 or 3 times, and they've never had to bleep. See, now I don't actually know because I went on back when John was first starting the show, and he may have had to bleep me. Like this was back 2014, 2013, back when Todd was still alive. Sort of in the
I definitely had to be bleeped. In fact, I think it is called That Bleeping Episode.
That's amazing. Wait, was that? Have you been on twice? Because the last one I listened with you was right after your book came out.
I did one for the book. I did one about red dots. I think that's it. There might have been another one.
There might have been another one. This is the state of the lifestyle that people like us lead. It's like, hey, what was the last media appearance that you did? Shoot, it was gosh dang it, when with the thing and the place with the guys and the time.
I went through one period, I think it was this year, that I did something like 4 podcasts or interviews or shows inside of like a 2.5 week period.
That's a lot of media. And for people who don't do this sort of thing professionally, I know this is going to sound really, really douchey, and I've accepted that this is going to sound douchey. It actually gets really tiring. Like when you do a podcast every couple of nights and a radio show, and then you're trying to write content or whatever, you're kind of, after a while you're like, man, I don't really feel like doing this tonight.
Yeah,
But this
and
I
you feel
always
like you
feel
say
like
the same thing all the time because
over
everybody
and
always wants to talk about the same stuff.
it's like dating the internet. So no. All right, hang on. I'm going to explain that. So when you're going on a lot of first dates, which is something that I have, well, let's say a lot of experience with, when you're going on a lot of first dates, you start to go stir crazy because you have the same fucking conversation over and over and over and over and over again. And especially when you do what I do for a living, girls will be like, "So, what do you do for a living?" And I'm like, "I'm a social media influencer." Oh, cool. In what industry? Trucks.
What?
I talk about trucks on the internet. Yep, nothing at all politically divisive. Oh, what are you a
No.
social media influencer for? The Church of Satan. That's less politically divisive than what we do for a living a lot of the time. Uh,
Mm,
but
truth.
when you're doing all this media, you feel like you end up saying the same stuff over and over again because in a way you sort of are dating the internet because we're always courting a new audience and trying to keep our listeners engaged, and we want that buy-in with our content because we're all shallow narcissists. I mean, we're professionals. What did I say? Shit.
And some of us, get a little, I don't want to say pigeonholed, but if you're out there doing a whole bunch of media to launch like a book
Mm-hmm.
or something like that, then that's all anybody wants to talk about.
Right.
Or if you're a woman, all anybody wants to talk about is women and guns and
Your
carrying guns
vagina.
as a woman and blah, 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 because we all know that the only thing useful I have to say about guns has to do with my vagina.
I mean, yeah, that's where you store your gun, right?
Well, of
Do not
course.
Google that. Like, seriously, people, just don't, okay? You can trust.
Did you actually do that sometime?
What? Store a gun in my vagina or Google guns in
Google
vaginas?
that.
I have never Googled guns in vaginas. Uh, but I'm sure that if you did Google that, you would find worse. Let's just not even say what
No,
you would
no.
find.
Okay, moving on, moving on. What were we going to
Right.
talk about
So
tonight?
moving on, let's start with ECQC and Force on Force because I just came, speaking of media appearances, so I just came from filming a TV show. Some of you guys may or may not have heard of it. It's called First Person Defender. It's put on by the Gun Talk production crew. And basically, what they do is they put people in simulated situations where they have to use force or make use of force decisions to try to defend themselves. And the hitch for TV, obviously, is that your helmet has GoPros on it, and there's GoPros everywhere, so they can actually kind of capture your reaction and the other people's reactions to the force on force scenario. And I don't want to spoil my episode because it's coming out in a month or 2 months or whenever, but there's some interesting things that came out of that, things that are validated by things that in this validated stuff that I have learned in previous force on force experiences, such as where you just came from,
Yes.
ECQC. So for those who don't know, what is ECQC, Annette? Tell
So,
the internets.
internets. ECQC is Craig Douglas's Extreme Close Quarters Combat class, which is essentially concepts, Extreme Close Quarter Concepts class. Bleh. Anyway, it is a 2.5-day class where we deal with the problem of gunfights from 0 to 5 feet, I think is the way that he puts it. So we talk about the pre gunfight problem, right? Or the pre entangled fight problem, which is where we cover MUC, the managing unknown contacts piece. We talk about solving the shooting problem in very close quarters, right? Because when your attacker is 2 feet from you, you can't do that standard, I'm going to draw a gun and stick my arms out.
But why though?
But why though? Because you want it to be your gun and not our gun in the fight?
Annette, are you saying that every self-defense encounter doesn't involve a masked man jumping out 30 feet away with a knife saying, "Give me your wallet"? See?
No, that's
Fuck. I've been
definitely not
training
how it
wrong
works.
my whole fucking life.
You know, it's something about, especially when you're like in cities and there's people close to each other. I mean, how many times have you been around strangers where they all stayed 30 feet away anyway?
Literally never. I live in an actual big city.
Mm-hmm. So we do that, and then we do a little bit of the actual fighting problem, right? So people go hands-on with you. They
Mm-hmm.
grab you, they throw you on the ground. Then what do you do?
Cry. I mean, at least for
Cry. I
me.
mean,
So for you guys, I've done ECQC, and I had the experience of going through ECQC as the smallest person in my class by probably about 40 pounds and 4 inches. So I was severely outclassed in size and weight advantages, which, as Annette can likely attest to, sucks at sometimes.
yeah. So I was not the smallest person in my class, although it
Did
was
they
pretty
have an
close.
actual hobbit?
They did not have an actual hobbit, but they had somebody who was around my height, around my weight, but it was not muscle.
Well,
So,
that's not even. See, I want to fight like a fat, out of shape version of me. That sounds great. Like, I want to fight like a short, rotund dude who doesn't run and doesn't lift. Like, that sounds really great. I want to do
right.
that fight.
Well, I fought that guy, and it was actually really nice because at this point, if the strength advantage, because I've been working out a lot, the strength advantage kind of made it easy. So I
Mm-hmm.
could just kind of throw them around and do what I wanted to do with them. And that was probably, I had him for my Evo on the end of the first day. And it was easy, fast, and almost textbook, which was
Nice.
nice. However, other people in the class included a 260-pound BJJ black belt.
Well, yeah. We had three of those, like just fucking motherfuckers in my
Yeah.
class, and I'm like, this is not fun. One of the guys that I frequently rolled with, and I hope he watches this because Juan is a good dude. One of the dudes that I trained with a bunch during ECQC, Juan, is like a 6'30", 900-pound former Army Ranger, really great guy. He runs a brewery down here in Miami, which I keep telling him I'm going to go visit, and then I don't because of the way I am as a person. Um, but well, hey, you should come down. Then we
And then
can
we'll go
go
visit
to
him
his
together.
brewery together, and we'll talk about ECQC.
Perfect.
See, great plan. Anyway, so back to the ECQC thing and the concept of managing unknown contacts, especially is so I have this wish that Craig would create a bunch of little like licensed mini instructors who don't teach anything else from his class but the muck portion. Because
Mm-hmm.
you could take that shit like correct me if I'm wrong, but you could take muck to schools. You could take it to college
Yes.
campuses. You could take it like if you could take 100 well, you could take 99% of the bullshit Krav Maga women's self-defense courses that teach gun disarms and testicle stomps and replace it with muck, and you would be doing the world a service.
Everybody should take muck more
Everybody,
than once.
like little
It
old
is
ladies.
high school students, even junior high kids, everybody can benefit from muck. It's just a good way to manage the world.
Right. And it teaches you, and the neat thing about muck, and I am of like again, I like the fighting, I like the entangled gun fighting, I love all of that
Sure.
stuff because because I'm a nerd for that particular culture,
Fighting
and
is fun.
yeah, it is like fighting, and we'll get to that later. Fighting's fun, uh, but the thing about managing unknown contacts and the muck aspect of it is, it's sort of like it's sort of like racing lines, right? So I can't drive at race car speeds on the freeway, right? I'll get arrested, I'll hit other cars, things like that. But I can practice taking actual apexes and racing lines within reason through turns. Similarly, you can't practice jujitsu on homeless people. Okay, let
I
me
mean,
rephrase.
unless they started it.
Right. Let me rephrase that for the pedants out there. You can't legally just go up to homeless people and
And
start
just start
putting
stomping
them
them.
in rear naked chokes and neck cranks and shit like that. Uh, but muck, you can muck people every fucking day of the week if you go outside, which is also
Mm-hmm.
something that we both recommend is going outside and running and exercising and things like that, right?
So, even when I go to work and I'm heading into, so I work for a company, we own the entire building, but even going into work, I don't know everybody who works there. So I'm going towards that back door and, hey, who's that person who's walking in from the other end of the parking lot? I've never seen them before. Do they actually belong here? That's mini muck.
Right. And then and then because, you have a gun, you shoot him in the chest because all problems are solved by shooting people.
Or shanking people.
Shanking is also fun. Well, and that's sort of the interesting. So, not to, so I've done ECQC and I've done some other training that's similar in concept to the muck problem, right? Where we're dealing with
Yep.
unknown contacts in the street, random people, and stuff like that. And so when I went to this TV show to deal with force on force, a big part of my mindset is how can I manage the situation that doesn't result in me having to shoot anybody because I win every gunfight that never happens.
Shooting people is a lot of hassle
It
and
really
it's really
is.
expensive. Like, it's not fun. So, I mean, if I want to shoot people in class, that's fun.
Right.
Except for that giant welt I have from a contact shot with a Sims gun. But
Okay,
other than that,
you want to talk about ECQC bruises. I had just started dating my girlfriend, and I was like, hey, I got to go take this class for work. And when you say take a class for work to someone who's not involved in this lifestyle at all, they think like sit in a
seminar,
classroom, maybe take it,
lecture.
yeah, seminars, lectures. So I came back, and during one of my evos, I had a dude who was like two of me fall on me directly onto my appendix carried Sims pistol, and so I had
Ow.
all his weight. I had
Ow.
a bruise from that started at the bottom of my ribs and went down past the tip of my dick on my thigh, and it hurt Oh, bad. And of course, because we're nerds, the first thing I did, like when it turned really livid in that gross yellow purple color, I was like, Trish, look at this fucking bruise. Isn't this cool?
I bet she wasn't as impressed as the rest of us would
She
be.
was genuinely concerned about my well-being because I also cracked a rib and I was covered in welts from sim guns and stuff like that.
You got beat up a little bit more than I did then in ECQC.
I
You sound like you got pretty trashed.
I got it was violent. I got junked pretty hard because I wasn't willing to. So, and one of the things that happened when I went through ECQC is I had, one, I was at a significant height, weight, and skill disadvantage because even the guys that were close to my weight were like, uh, they were all up in the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I am
Hmm.
not all up in the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Makes a
So
difference.
it does, and I know it does because I've been junked by people who are up into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And that's the next thing that I wanted to ask you about is how big a difference does having some level of skill in ground fighting make in an evolution like in a environment like ECQC?
It's pretty amazing, actually. So, some people know that I took EWO, which is Edge Weapon Overview, which is the stabby version instead of the shooty version of ECQC.
Mm,
And I did that back at the end of March. And I mean, not bruises everywhere. EWO doesn't really do a lot of ground fighting, a lot of it's stand up clinch. But it was still a really, really rough class for me. I mean, I got beat pretty hard and I ended up grounded anyway, even though that's not what the class is about. So I started BJJ at the beginning of June. So I've got about 4 months under my belt now. No puns intended. I actually just earned my first stripe about a week before I took ECQC. So walking into ECQC, way, way better experience. I was able to, just not panic, which I think for people who don't have fight experience, and this is especially true for women, I think, is, if you've never been in a fight before, the first time somebody like starts hitting you in the head, even with the helmet on, or starts, dragging you to the ground, it's kind of scary.
for
Or they
sure.
sit on you. They've got you in side control, so they're laying over you and they're putting all their weight on you, and that's kind of terrifying.
Or when somebody gets knee on belly
Oh,
and it's
yeah.
just the worst thing in the world. So, and it's yeah, it can be quite shocking, right?
Yeah. So you feel, I mean, I think the word that a lot of people use is drowning when
Mm-hmm.
you're under somebody's weight, because that's what it feels like. They're just like crushing your chest and you can't get another breath in. After 4 months of jits, and I train about twice a week, so I get in fairly regularly to the gym. That just wasn't really problematic anymore. I would be in a fight in ECQC and be like, oh, hey, that person's on top of me. I'm just going to shrimp out now and move my hips around, and then I'm going to go get into guard, and then I'm going to turn on my side so I can draw my gun and shoot this guy.
And
So
it's
it was just way more relaxing, way less effort to do all this stuff, and I had a plan. I had something to do.
right. And what's interesting, so one of the, Stephanie just asked in the comments if it's hard to control the adrenaline, and you don't. In my experience, so I'm not a jujitsu practitioner. The grappling and ground fighting stuff that I've gotten from uh, military combatives programs, ECQC, and stuff like that. And I've never done jujitsu. I've got a black belt in Taekwondo and some other fun. I used to do stand up American style boxing, which is a lot of fun. Punching people is fun,
I
and
used
now
to do
I'm
some of
starting to
that.
get into Muay Thai because I'm a huge believer in the Muay Thai clinch as a way for stand-up
Mm-hmm.
control. So anyway,
Yep.
uh, on the topic of controlling the adrenaline, and this applies to any sort of adrenalized environment, is at least for me, I've never been able to control my adrenaline in the sense that like I still get jacked up before I shoot my first stage of a match. Like if I'm at a major, my adrenaline goes before my first stage every time. What's different is, is how it affects me now, right? So I get the same level of jackness. My heart rate goes up. My everything continues to, I get all adrenalized, but I don't get panicky. as a
Yeah.
part of it now. So I get adrenalized, I get all jacked up, but I'm not freaking out. So to sort of continue the after taking ECQC, I had the opportunity to do some force on force, and in one of these situations, I was grappling with this guy, and we were in a stand-up clinch, and he had a gun out, and I was able to get what's called a wrist tie on him. And while I'm getting this wrist tie, I'm not freaking out about where his gun is. I'm like, I've got a wrist tie. His other
What shall I
arm
do next?
well, I'm like, I've got a wrist tie. His other arm is trying to break my wrist tie, and he's holding this gun. So I'm going to take my gun out now, and I'm going to shoot him. And I did, and it was great because he did not expect that to happen.
Are you saying you didn't have limb control on both limbs there?
I did not have limb control on both limbs. Because his other limb, was really occupied trying to break my limb control, and it was what I think Craig calls what is it, an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
He uses a two-word phrase, and I forget what it is exactly, but it's that moment where you recognize you have a gap and you can take advantage of their focus on something else to get one of your tools into play.
Yeah, sometimes if you time it wrong, like I did, you end up shot in the gut. But
It can go wrong. Understand, we are not, understand the whole point of force on force is that it gives you a place to take these risks so that you just don't end up with a bullet in your chest. You end up with a
Yep.
simunition bruise.
Yes,
And
and so when I got this was actually my final Evo, which is why I remember it so well. Is when I got gut shot in that, I remember feeling it and going, "Wow, that kind of stings." But who the fuck cares? I'm gonna keep fighting this dude because he hasn't won the fight yet.
right. And
So
the other and the one cautionary tale that sort of brings to mind about any force on force training is you are always aware of the artificiality of the environment. And force on force training is against willful, capable opponents is probably the best environment that we have to pressure test hands-on, combative, close-in techniques.
mm-hmm.
But like, but because
it
it's still an artificial environment.
it has to be so we're safe.
Right.
Tony had a question there about if either of us had service or and I know that you do. I, on the other hand, am 100% civilian, right down to like the super white collar day job.
You are
Um,
so white collar, it's not even funny.
well, yeah, I mean, yeah,
I
but
mean,
I think that one.
you're also wearing a cat right now. Can we take a moment from this very serious discussion to discuss the fact that the Asian person is wearing a cat? Like, and
What's wrong with that?
the cat's super. Here's the weirdest part. That cat is super fucking chill right now, and it's creepy. Like, your cat is just like do 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 do. Meanwhile, my dog is sound asleep. He has his head behind a pillow, and your cat's like la la la. So I did see in the comment. There's a guy in there. His name looks like Jadadi Dravane. No, I'm fucking with him. I know that guy. His name's actually Jade, and it's an unfortunate name for a dude. Sorry, buddy. I love you. He and I went through basic training together and tech school, and he got shot with a rifle munitions round that actually
Oh,
embedded in his arm,
oh, that
and he
sounds
also got
terrible.
shot in the lip too because we had these
Oh,
soft face masks that weren't super great. So anyway, you want to talk about getting fucked up
yep.
with sim munitions?
Oh,
They
that
yeah,
sounds terrible.
rifle sims hurt way worse than pistol sims. Just
I don't even want to think about it.
so
Not you, no. But
so
so
on the force on force topic and on the ECQC topic, I think that I don't know how much you want to tease this, but I love you souls, but you spent some of this class using an unusual holster.
I did. So I've been somewhat unwillingly looking a lot at the women's carry problem
Now,
because
why?
why? On which part? Why? Why
Okay,
unwillingly, or why am I looking?
let me. This is actually like a multi-part question. So, why are products that are marketed specifically to solve the women's carry problem usually trash?
Because a lot of them get developed by people who think they have tried what's available on the market, which is not actually true in a lot of cases. They don't have a lot of experience, so they don't know the market, they don't have experience, and they're just putting out there something that they think works.
Mm-hmm.
And their market doesn't necessarily have the experience or the knowledge base to do a really good job judging its effectiveness, not just for holding the gun, which of course is one piece of it, right? But
Right.
also, it's one thing to, I can put a gun on my body and I can conceal it. But, at the end of the day, we still have to be able to get to it, and we have to make sure that other people can't get to it.
Right. Do you, and that's one of the problems. And to be fair, uh, a lot of the products marketed for concealed carry are terrible, just
Yes.
regardless of which gender they're marketed to. And it is
Yes.
that problem where you have people who are ignorant creating products that they think are solving a problem that wouldn't actually exist if they just sucked less.
Yeah.
And it's so, for example, and I'll be very gender neutral with this one. So whether you're a man, a woman, or an Apache attack helicopter in your sexual identity, car holsters are fucking dumb.
This is absolutely true.
All right, but they're solving a problem that only exists because people are bad at carrying guns.
Right.
Right. So
And they're bad at drawing guns, too.
right. So if you have a good holster, and it doesn't, if you have a good appendix holster or a good IWB holster that's properly designed, worn properly with a gun belt and that sort of stuff, car carry is not an issue.
Mm-hmm.
Accessing your gun in a car isn't an issue if you know what you're doing.
Right.
And that's where the whole car holster thing comes into play is it's people who don't know what the fuck they're doing are designing a product that solves their lack of skill and knowledge and is like 1,000% more dangerous. But that's, and then I feel like, so this is also similar with the women's carry market because you have
Mm-hmm.
like belly wraps that don't prevent access to the trigger and leggings that cause the gun to shift around and
Mm-hmm.
holsters that go under your cans, which that last product though is interesting.
It's got some real fucking potential. So the flashbang holster that a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people have heard of. There's certainly a lot of bashing of it out there. It's basically a Kydex clamshell that goes around the gun, protects the trigger very well, and it attaches to the bra.
Right.
And
Now, I
so
do want to say I don't hate the flashbang. Uh, one, Lisa Looper is a friend of mine, but two, when I look at, and okay, like real talk, guys, I've actually fucked around with one, like on
good,
my body.
good.
Uh, the size of the sports bra that I had to buy to fuck around with this, like, there's a whole nother funny story about Caleb buying a sports bra for myself. But anyway, um,
You have to do it
but
October. That's the trick.
the I don't hate the flashbang, and I have
Mm-hmm.
my own reasons for it. But go ahead, continue.
So I played around with it a bit this weekend, partially because it's just wow, my cat is really big eyes. Partially because it's kind of a common target,
Mm-hmm.
and partially because I thought that there was some potential in it, and not a lot of people have done any serious work on it. We're starting to see a few guys who are okay. Jenny, you can't be right in front of the camera. You're starting to see a few guys who are like, yeah, I got one. I played around with it a little bit. But nobody's really doing any serious work with it. They're just saying, well, you can't get a draw on it in an entangled fight. I'm like, okay, have you tried? Or you can't retain this gun, or you can't do this. I'm like, yeah, but has anybody actually really tested this? So I did. I've got some really interesting initial takeaways that I'm going to develop further. I'm really lucky that several of the people in my ECQC class are local and very, very skilled.
Mm-hmm.
So that 260-pound BJJ black belt that I was talking about earlier is about 45 minutes from me.
Well, that's
Um,
fun.
so that'll be convenient. Jeff Bluvman lives about half an hour from me.
Mm.
So we're going
If
to
you
be able to
guys don't know who
spend
Jeff Bluvman is, y'all need to fix your lives.
Yeah, that's the only way I can put it. Jeff is a fantastic resource, very, very knowledgeable, and just a really cool guy. So, we What I've discovered so far is that there's a lot of potential there. I think some real positives, and I'm going to be developing that a little further, and that's going to definitely be some forthcoming video and articles and things like that, because I think it's an important topic. You know, the, the the women's carry problem, in some ways, it's not any different from the men's carry problem, right? Like, how do you fit a gun on your body in your everyday life? But it's true, you know, women don't always have pants, right? What if you're wearing a dress? Where do you put your gun? How do you put your gun on you? I mean, you could be like me and just avoid wearing a dress as much as possible, but even so, once in a while, you're at a wedding or you're at some other thing, and how are you going to drag that gun around with you?
Pantsuit. Now, interestingly,
Mm,
I remember seeing an interesting solution to the dress carry once, which was a girl wore basically a pair of like tight jean shorts under the dress and
Priest did that.
yeah, and that was
Hmm.
yeah, that's who that was, and
Yep.
had the gun in there, and I was like, that's clever, but the problem is that doesn't work. Like, okay, guys, this is really not gonna this is not gonna help my the whole people think Caleb might be a little gay bit, but you can't do that with like an A-line skirt, or you can't
You
do that
can't
with a
do that in
pencil
a
skirt.
yeah, and you can't do that with like a summer sundress.
Right. Now, I will say Empire waist. I'm super jealous of anything that you guys have with an Empire waist because holy fuck, you can conceal
Easy
an A.
sauce.
You could get like an AK in there, and you're like, kablam! What's up, bitches? I'm
I
ready.
actually think so. I have a theory that women's business casual is actually the easiest wardrobe to hide a gun under.
Fun fact, God, we should get Melody on here for a three-way. Phrasing, get your minds out of the gutter. Anyway, what I meant to say was get Melody on here for a conversation because she does a lot of that. And
Hmm.
I don't know anybody who is tinier than Melody that carries more shit than Melody.
Yeah, she shames me because like one of the reasons I had to start carrying a 19 is she manages to get away with it, and she makes me look like a giant. So I should be able to get away with it.
And continuing the thread of if you don't know who we're talking about, if y'all don't know who Melody Lauer is, fix yo shit. All right, get your ass on the Googles. You fucking Google Melody Lauer. You'll figure out what we're talking about here in a hurry. So to change the subject, not too much, but a little bit, let's go on to the subject of things that are taboo in our line of work and the social taboo that we often place on ourselves of not saying that we like what it is that we're doing, right? So, and to kind of explain that, there's there are some people who apply this sort of dour sentimentality to self-defense and firearms training. You know, this everything must be super serious because we are training for the gravest extreme. And while I don't disagree that we are training for the gravest extreme, um, shooting people with sim guns is fun. Punching people
Fighting
in the face is fun. So honestly, like I'm like getting punched isn't fun, but the process of fighting people
is
when
fun
you're not doing it for your you know, when it doesn't when the
when
stakes are
it's
not life or death,
right.
it's fun.
Hmm.
You know, if it wasn't fun, people wouldn't watch MMA.
And that fight was fantastic, by the way.
The whole
Anyway,
fucking card was fantastic.
I
All right,
know it
pause
was.
button. UFC 229. The whole fucking card was great, but nothing was better than okay. So, what was your favorite fight of the night?
Well, so because of the bar where I didn't see all of them,
Mm-hmm.
but what was it? The two women who were fighting at like super ultra
Strawweight.
feather light straw weight.
So
That was
that
actually a really fascinating fight for me to watch because it was much closer to the kinds of stuff that I'm working on.
mm-hmm.
Because I can't bowl anybody over. I mean, most of the guys at my gym outweigh me by 40 pounds.
Right.
So, you know, the watching the big guys fight is like, wow, that's cool, but watching the strawweights fight was like, wow, I can see how this works when you're a lot lighter than I am. So
Well, I mean, to be fair,
super technical.
their walking around weight is probably like 145. So,
Okay, so maybe a little closer to me.
so that was Michelle Watterson and Felicia Herrig, I think, was her
I
opponent.
think so. Yeah.
Now, for me, though, the fight of the night, and I agree with Jacob on this one, was Derek Lewis
That was a good
versus
fight.
the big Russian dude, and
That was a really good
it was
fight.
actually a shitty fight. So, like, if you watch the fight itself actually kind of sucked because you've got these two guys, their cardio sucks, and Derek Lewis is basically just standing around waiting for a chance to land that motherfucking right hand, and then he does. And he punched that dude's soul out of his
Yeah.
body. And then, but what really made it great though was his
Was the interview.
post-fight interview. And here's the best part about this though. So that was so popular. So all of a sudden now the main card for UFC 230, which is in Madison Square Garden in November, is Derek Lewis versus Daniel Cormier for the heavyweight strap. So it's a heavyweight title fight, and I'm gonna be interested to see how that goes. But anyway, back to the taboo.
Anyway, well,
So,
this is actually kind of part of it, right? Though,
right.
So, like, you and I can talk about the fight. Most of our friends can talk about the fight. I can go to the gym and talk about the fight, but I can't go to work into my office and be like, "Hey, did you see the fights this weekend? They were amazing."
Did you see that dude get his soul punched out of his body? It was awesome.
This is not what normal people really talk about.
Right.
And certainly not with any level of detail. I mean, go to any bar and watch UFC, and all you're gonna get is, and we've all seen the memes. It's like some dude who's sitting around going, "Oh, why'd he tap out? That wasn't that bad. All he had to do was move his hand." Like, because you don't do this, and your level of interest is
right. Because you've never been neck cranked by somebody who fucking knows what they're doing.
Right.
It's really unpleasant.
It's not even just like, oh, we like to talk about, people hurting other people and the violence, and hey, it's fun. It's to a level of detail I think that most people don't appreciate, because all they see is, if they enjoy it at all, they look at it like a football game.
Right. So I'm going to answer a question real quick. So, Souls, this is what we call a podcast. Annette and I are firearms industry professionals, and we're discussing topics of interest in the firearms industry, like choking people. You like choking people, but
I'm suspicious of people who don't like choking people.
Right, but it's funny because, which sort of dovetails nicely into another line of conversation, is when you get out around normies, and I mean like actual normies, not like gun industry normies, but like normal people who think it's weird to carry pepper spray, and you're like, why is that weird? That's like
I give pepper spray to like girls in high school.
Right? I'm like, I put my pants on this morning and I found my pepper spray. I was like, oh, it was in this pocket.
That's where my Spitfire went.
That's where I left that can of it. Because I have like 4 cans of pepper spray sitting around my apartment. But yeah, it is interesting. So now we're going to wildly change subjects, because I want to ask you about competition shooting, Annette.
What, that thing that's going to get me killed in the streets?
Yeah, for sure.
It's actually really interesting, and this is actually a little bit connected. It's like we talk about things that we do that are, nobody really gets, and blah, 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 blah. And it turns out that my gamer background is really useful in every single Craig Douglas class I've taken this year, and that's 3 of them.
Yeah. Souls, are you saying I'm fat? Is that what you're saying? Because DC is fat. DC's a big, chunky. DC's short and chunky. Hurts my feelings. Anyway, so, but no, it's interesting because when you do force on force, and when you have a level of shooting skill, so that you don't need to devote clock cycles to trigger management and sight picture and stuff like that, it allows you to solve other problems like, do I even need to shoot this guy right now? Is this something that, is this threat changing from lethal force to non-lethal force? BMT is basic military training. It's what we call basic training in the Air Force. So it's whether or not I need to... Sorry, Souls. DC, right, Daniel Cormier, I get it now, Storm Chief. Anyway, so it's what you need to do to actually solve the problem, and you're not worried about solving, if you're not worried about the technical aspect of executing the shot, because you're already, I'm going to make a statement here. if you are a mid-range USPSA B-class shooter, all right,
Oh, you're a
first
god
off,
among men.
you're in the 1% of the 1% of shooting skill on the planet, all right, with
Mm-hmm.
a handgun. You are in the 1% of the 1% just by being a B-class USPSA shooter. Because if you think about it, there's what, call it 100 million gun owners in the country. All right. So if there's 100 million gun owners in the country, we're gonna do some. Why am I doing the math?
Oh, don't
Anyway,
look at me.
you're
I
a
went to law school.
lawyer and
I
you're
went to law school, so I
Asian.
don't have to do math.
All right. So 30,000 divided by 100 million. Da-da. All right. So you're already in the actual point. So just by being a USPSA member, you're in the 0.03% of gun owners in the country. All right. Uh, just by being a USPSA member. So now
Right.
you're a B class USPSA shooter, and there's probably what, 50% of USPSA are B class and above. Let's be generous.
That's super generous.
All right.
But
Yeah,
call it that.
sure. So
Call
even so, just by doing that, you're in point 0.0015% of gun owners in the country by being a B class USPSA shooter or above. I am more than comfortable saying that at that skill level, you possess sufficient handgun shooting skills to solve 99% of any handgun violent encounters that you may get into.
Well, so my sim gun double fed during my last Evo,
Did you rip the mag
and
out and scream "fuck"?
well, I was at the time because that was a 2-on-1, and the other two guys were fighting at the moment. And when
Oh, that
I,
was nice of them.
wasn't it? So, but by the time I remembered that, oh, I should probably clear my gun because I'm out of the fight for a bit, and that there's a whole mental component to this, right? Because you just had the shit beaten out of you, and you're scrambling out of the fight, and you're trying to figure out what's going on, and you can't
Mm-hmm.
see anything anyway. Um, there was a double feed in my gun that there's video of me fixing it, looking down at the gun maybe 2 or 3 times, glancing down, ripping mags out, racking slides, blah 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 blah, and getting the gun back into working order. To the point when they took the gun back from me at the end of the Evo, it was already fixed. You don't have to think about things like that when you've done that in a stage or in practice. You've just spent that much time around
Right.
guns.
You just fix the problem. And just like the
Right.
shooting problem, I had in my most recent Force on Force, I had a shooting problem to solve, and I wasn't really thinking about the shooting problem. I was thinking about where I want to position myself so I can maximize my sight lines to shoot this person. And then I was
Mm-hmm.
thinking about shooting them like in the visor, but that was because I was being a dick. Um, but but no, and that's the thing about competition shooting, and it gives you that technical ability to solve a problem that allows you to then think about other stuff. It's just
Right.
like drivers, and again, I use a lot of driving analogies because everybody drives a car, you know?
Well, I actually had somebody in ECQC who had never driven a car before.
Wow.
It made the car Evo very strange.
Was it a man or a woman? I'm just curious.
Uh, both.
You had, wait, it was the
We had
person, hang on.
we we had somebody who was in transition in the class.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah,
That's
and it was
cool.
actually pretty cool. And just for the record, for people who are like, "Oh, those gun people, they're so judgy," and like, yeah, no, there was none of that. Uh, Z just got treated the same as everybody else, and basically just got beat up a lot like every other new small person in ECQC.
That's cool.
So,
I mean,
yeah,
not the well, no, the beating up is cool actually because that's so for the
that's
record,
equality.
if you guys want to experience true gender equality, go to ECQC because everybody gets their shit pushed in. That's
Yes.
ECQC for you. Because I've known young men, old men, women, like everybody that I've known who's taken ECQC has had similar experiences, and many of those experiences involved getting their shit pushed in. Um,
That
not
was
like
Evo. ECQC, actually, I did pretty okay.
Good for
Thank you.
you. Yay.
I
All right,
was
so
very happy.
back to competition shooting. I want to cover a little bit of competition shooting news. So, what's
Yes.
the big announcement in the competition shooting world this week?
So the biggest thing this week probably is that Danny Horner has landed.
And who's Danny Horner?
Danny Horner is, well, he was formerly AMU and is probably the best three gunner that the world has seen. I mean, I don't
I,
think
I I
people will
don't
argue too much with
even
that.
I don't even really think you need to put probably on there.
I think he is.
Like Dan is on a whole nother level
Yeah.
of skill, and his career in the army certainly helped that. Uh, but so where did Daniel Horner land?
With Sig,
Now,
actually.
this is interesting because uh, a couple of years ago, Sig had a pro team that was similarly structured to Smith and Wesson's old pro team,
Mm-hmm.
where they had their, elite squad, which at the time was Max Michelle and Lena Michalek. Is she still going by her dad's name, or is she doing her married name?
She's not married anymore. Last I checked.
Oh, really? I'm so behind. Hang on. We're fuck the news. Let's go into the
Go,
action.
go
Welcome
back.
to Shooting
Anyway.
Sports TMZ. I'm Caleb Giddings, and tonight we're
And
talking about Lena Michalek's divorce because we're
I
discussing
don't know,
animals.
but in any case, she's still going by Lena Michalak,
Okay,
which I
so
would too if I had her last name. I
right,
mean,
if you
why would you change that?
now and for people who don't know, also like obviously everybody knows who Jerry Michalek is. Some people don't actually know that her mom is also a motherfucker. Like her mom is a
Yes.
seriously talented shooter, so it makes sense that like their child would just inherit all of the gun ninja genes.
Mm-hmm. And was trained like since probably before birth to be an amazing shooter.
Right, like in the womb, Jerry's reading, shooting books to her and stuff like that. Um, so anyway, so Sig had two teams, right? You had
Right.
your black team and your silver team,
Gray.
whatever. So you had your black team and your
I
gray
mean, it's hard
team.
to remember. I don't have my jersey anymore.
Oh, did they make you send your jersey back?
They did.
Rude. Anyway, so Sig had a two-tiered team structure, and they disbanded the lower rung of that team, correct?
Yes.
For various reasons that we don't need to get into, but it appears that they're still very serious about racking up those shooting trophies, wouldn't you say?
I mean, considering who the team consists of right now, I mean, you've got Max, who is one of the best pistol shooters we've ever known. You've got
Right.
Lena, who, well, whatever she picks up, she's really great at. I think she's really focused on three gun for the most part, but has how many world championships under her name right now?
She's beat the brakes off people at three gun.
Yep. And I think the last world shotgun championship, she's zeroed a stage and still won.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, and it was a big point stage too. Like it wasn't like some little stage that her shotgun completely fell apart on. It was some big stage. She zeroed, and then she still won.
Um,
So, and then they're gonna pick up Daniel Horner,
who
who,
is
as we
also one of the best on the planet.
right,
I mean, and what's interesting though to me about the Daniel Horner acquisition and the fact that they have Lena is they essentially have two really good three gunners
mm-hmm,
and one of the top. If you're making a list of the top 10 or the top 5 pistol shooters on the planet, Max is on that list.
mm-hmm,
I would say that list is probably. Hang on, let's do this. All right, Eric Graffel.
Grafel, right?
So let's put it in order too. Let's hurt some butts tonight. All right, the
Oh,
top 5 best pistol shooters on the planet. Number 1, Eric Graffel. Nobody's gonna be butthurt by us
no,
saying
if we
Eric
put
Graffel is the best.
right,
So Eric Graffel. Number 2, Ben.
maybe.
Ben or
I don't think
Max?
so. Well, so here's the interesting thing because Ben doesn't shoot open and Max doesn't shoot irons.
True.
And they are really kind of a different sort of game in
Strategery.
a lot of ways.
But Max now shoots carry optics
He does.
and junks the hell out of people at carry optics.
I talked to Max back in August, and he's like, "Yeah, all I really do is try to win against the open guys." Like he doesn't even think about the rest of us.
He's like, I'm gonna beat the brakes off the rest of this field so bad that I don't care what you do. I just want to beat the open. I want to beat the $4,500 open guns with my P320.
Yeah,
And then he
I mean,
does.
so
So all right,
um,
all right. So let's say number two. Let's call two a tie between Ben and Max.
that might be a thing.
And we'll say it's a tie because they don't shoot heads up.
Yeah. So this would be Max Michelle and Ben Steger.
So Max Michel is the captain of Team Sig, formerly from the AMU. Um,
Mm-hmm.
did he go anywhere in between
As
the
far as I think
AMU
he
and
went straight
Sig?
through. I think he went straight through.
Because he's been with Sig forever now.
Yes.
So all right, Graffel, Ben, and
Ben
Max.
Max.
Now here's a question: where would you put Robbie in that mix? Rob Leatham.
So here's the interesting thing: is like we're talking about like who's shooting now,
Right.
and that's changed.
Right.
Like what we would have said even 5 years ago. Well, maybe not five, but like 10 years ago might be a little different. I
Well,
think we talk about now.
if we talked about like 5, 6 years ago, if we talked 5, 6 years ago, the list would be a little bit different, but easier to
No.
fill out.
Yeah.
Because if I did the list 5 or 6 years ago,
Like we wouldn't
it'd
we
still
wouldn't have
have
people like
Eric on
Quansick,
it, right?
but we wouldn't have somebody like Quansick on there. Quansick Kim, who's been making a meteoric rise in the last year or two, for
Right, but I don't know.
instance.
I mean, and he seems like a really nice dude. It's a damn shame that the guy whose initials are HK is shooting Walthers. Like, what in the fuck? Like, hang on. I know I have people who work for HK who follow me. Get on this shit. Like, what are you people doing over there? Get your
Because
lives together.
wouldn't that be
It
perfect?
would be. Like, hi, I'm HK here for HK. Come the fuck on. Anyway. I don't think, and he has been making a hell of a rise. I don't think he's in the best in the
Yet.
game discussion yet. But if we were having this conversation 5, 6 years ago, I would have said Eric. I probably would have said Eric, Robbie, Bob Vogel, Dave,
Mm-hmm.
and Ben. That would have been my
Right.
top five right there.
That'd be pretty good.
Yeah,
Top five. Yeah.
because at the time, and this is no dig on Max. At the time, Max was only shooting open, and if all you
Mm-hmm.
shoot is open, I don't care about you. I'm kidding, Max. I love you. You're my boy. And here's the thing. So if we got those top three, then you have a whole bunch of other,
It
you've
opens
got
up.
you've got a whole bunch of motherfuckers.
I mean, you've even got like Maria there now.
Mm-hmm.
She
I
got real close at World Shoot.
She did get close at World Shoot, but then you also, Bob's still out there.
Yep.
Um, who else is? And I'm less tied into
And
USPSA than I used to be. But I mean, who are your? I guess Nationals is coming up, so we'll find out here in a couple of weeks, right?
I mean, we've got like people like Nils out there too.
Nils is good.
And Nils is and shoots like every division. Not just because 9 Days of Nationals shoots every division, like actually shoots most of them.
Mm-hmm.
So
And then you've got JJ Rakaza, who
yep,
mostly shoots open.
but
Casey,
also he'll shoot production.
yeah, Casey Eusebio.
Yep.
Um,
And you've got some other up and comers up too. Like I mean, I shot with Mason when I was on SIG too, and he's
who?
kind of made some Mason Lane, and he's started making some waves.
You have any idea how out of touch I am? I don't know, Mister. I don't know any of these names. And then who's on Team Glock these days? Shane Cooley. Shane's fucking good.
Mm-hmm.
He's no joke. What if we did the list for the top 5 women shooters?
USPSA.
Yeah, I mean Maria's number one.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Maria's number one. Jesse's number two.
Jesse's probably in there.
Randy.
Randy's up there. Julie.
Yeah, Julie. And Randy's good. Like Randy, Randy beat the brakes off me at IDPA Nationals this year, so
She shot well at IDPA Nationals this year. She's very underestimated, I think, and she took a couple years where it sounds like she, I don't want to say took a break, but scaled back a little bit, and she seems to be, now that she's shooting for Ruger, seems to be right back on.
mhm. I think the reason why Randy gets underestimated. So Randy's a friend of mine. I've known Randy since she was on Team Glock, uh, and I think one of the reasons why she gets underestimated is she's literally the nicest person in the world,
She is. I love Randy
and
a lot.
and she's got this friendly, bubbly personality where she's like, "Hi, dee, 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 dee," and then she goes out and smashes people, and they don't
Mm-hmm.
see it coming because she's just
Sweet
so nice
and
about that.
nice.
Who
Yes.
were we had a
Jaleese and Justine Williams, yeah, they'll probably, one
who
of them
were
just made GM, and like legit.
like a legit GM?
Oh, really legit GM.
Still not better than Maria.
No. No.
Yeah, I have no
I
idea
mean,
who
maybe
these.
someday, but not better than Maria now.
No, Maria. My middle name is I shot 3% of Ben Steger at World Shoot.
Well, Maria also has
Ooh,
quite a bit
Ashley
of.
Rourke
That's a good
she's
call.
she's real good. I think
Yes.
she's going to be uh she has the youth, the right coaching, and the potential to be a legit USPSA GM.
Yeah.
If she isn't already. I don't know if she
She's
is.
not. She is not. Last I checked. I don't remember if it's Jaleese or Justine who made GM. But what I've seen of both of their shooting is very, very, very legit. Very much shoots like a shooter versus shoots like a girl.
Wait,
And
wait,
you know
wait.
that there's a difference.
Annette, explain this
You know
difference.
there's a difference.
Explain this
There's
to me, please.
a lot of it is about, I mean, especially in USPSA, the athleticism with which and the aggressiveness with which people are approaching stages.
Hmm.
So you've got shooters who are, really, really pushing hard, right? Who are running, like actual running through stages, who are throwing themselves into positions, who are shooting in and out of positions, stuff like that. And there's a different approach that you tend to see more in women, because guys, they're born knowing how to shoot, so they don't really have this problem. They're born being athletic, and they don't really seem to have this problem where they're kind of, I don't want to say prancing or meandering, but it's just not that level of drive.
You mean where some female shooters just sort of flounce their way through stages and don't attack them aggressively?
Yeah.
To be
Yeah.
fair, to the female shooters who do that, I see that with guys too. And usually the guys that I see that with have uh, a unifying characteristic. They're all fat as fuck.
Nah.
And they're in terrible shape, and so they can't aggressively attack the stage because they might have a goddamn heart attack.
And of course, we're speaking in super broad generalities
Oh
here,
yeah,
so there's
yeah.
that.
These are
But
not specifics at all.
yeah, but
Um,
but
but if you're
there's
fat, you
an
should stop
attitude.
eating and go work out.
There's an attitude towards shooting a stage, shooting competitively, that tends to be seen more in men, that we're starting to see more women do.
Hmm.
And that's why I say they shoot more like shooters, like somebody who can't be differentiated from everybody else who's shooting a
So,
match, except that they've got boobs and long hair and vaginas.
do you? Well, the men don't all have long hair. Uh, do you think that the gap between male and female shooters will ever be closed? Like, do you think that we'll get to a point where, all right, so, you know, people like Maria aside, like, we're going to go ahead and put Maria into the freak category where she's got the, look, I
Well,
don't mean,
she has all the advantages, right?
right. So, and I don't mean freak as an insult. Usain Bolt is a freak, okay? Tom Brady is a freak. They have the perfect combination of work ethic, genetics, advantages, and resources, all right? Not everybody has that. Privilege is real, guys. Sorry. Um,
Triggered.
I know, but so we're gonna put her into that freak category because, and I'm not. This is not to take away from her work because You can be naturally talented and not work, and you won't be that great, all right? She fucking puts in the work. But she
Yep.
also has a resource advantage. She's got the right genetics, blah, blah, blah. So we'll put her out of the equation. But do you think that the skill gap that you see between the top male shooters and the top female shooters will eventually, as we get further and further and we get better at shooting, and there's objective measures that we're better at shooting. They had to change the classifiers to make them harder. So the general shooting community's got better at it in terms of competition. So do you think that skill gap is going to shrink?
So this is a really, really hard one because there's a numbers game
Phrasing.
here. Yeah, there's a numbers game here, right? So,
Ooh, Tim's watching.
hi Tim. So like a really good, like diverse USPSA match that I've shot will have like 5% women.
Mm.
So say you get 100 new male shooters and one of them's gonna make GM. How long are we gonna wait till we have 100 new female shooters for one of them to make GM? Assuming that, all things being equal, right?
Right. So this poses an interesting question because what if we took a per capita sample of male versus female shooters? So, because even if we did that, I don't think that we have, even percentage-wise, as many female GMs as we have male GMs. And we only have one female who's competing at the male GM level.
The Williams sisters?
No, Maria. Okay, so
Maria
two.
is, so the Williams sisters are, one
So,
of them, whichever one it is,
okay, so two. Would you say that, you know what? Would you say that Jesse's competing at the male GM level?
so I haven't seen her shoot USPSA in a while.
That's fair.
Right?
When was the last
So
big
she
match
shoots
she shot?
steel, right?
Right.
She shoots plenty of steel, and she's playing that game at a high level in steel. But I haven't really seen her shoot a lot of USPSA.
Now, interestingly, Steel
Thanks,
Challenge.
Tim. It's Justine.
So interestingly, Steel Challenge removes
The physicality for the most part.
Yeah, so if you were to make the argument that males have an inherent physiological advantage in USPSA because we're generally speaking bigger, faster, and stronger. I'm not bigger than anyone except for Tim.
You guys are the same height. We've proven this.
Yeah, we did that with science, and wait, it was drunk science.
It was very drunk science in a very dark parking lot. But
yeah,
anyway,
that sounds like the shadiest thing ever. But all right, so. But the point is that so if you make that argument that guys have an inherent physiological advantage in USPSA because we're bigger, faster, stronger, whatever, you put us in Steel Challenge and Bianchi Cup, and that advantage goes away
to some extent, right? Because there's still the difference in upper body strength.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So there's only so much technique is going to win out over somebody who can just crush away all of their problems.
But Bianchi Cup.
Bianchi probably a little closer.
I mean, so in Bianchi Cup, you're doing a lot of the shooting braced off the barricade. You're doing a lot of the shooting prone.
I mean, the last time I shot Bianchi, I shot production, so I had almost none of these advantages.
Right, but no one cares about production in Bianchi. We only care about the people who win. We care about open. All right. Hey, I shot production in Bianchi as well. Okay. As a matter of fact, my best finish ever at any major match was I finished in 9th place at the NRA Action Pistol World fucking Championship in production. And there were more than 9 shooters, so...
Well, were there more than 10?
No, I think there was 30 in production that year, which was...
reasonable.
It wasn't bad. I mean, to get... All right, so...
The other nice thing about Bianchi, too, is, Tim's like, I don't feel the difference is physiological. And in Bianchi, the speed of the shooting... it makes something like recoil management somewhat less of an issue.
Especially if you have an open gun, which weighs 693 pounds, and it got... No, I didn't win Top Shot, you fuck. Fucking show. Anyway.
And you're bracing, and you've got wings to brace it against the barricade, and you've got a prone pad on it, and everything else.
And what's interesting is...
it really comes down to just shooting.
Yeah, and last time I looked, no women had ever shot a perfect score.
Close.
Close.
Close. I think Anita Makowitz
And I know, and
almost did.
Jesse got close once. Jesse shot 1918,
I want to say this year or
shitload
last
of
year they
times.
weren't sure if they thought a woman might have won this year or last year. Like was close.
Okay,
So it can be done. Um,
so Tim thinks the difference is psychological, and
and I think there's something to that.
so you go and then I'll go because I actually agree.
Yeah, so I think a lot of it is part of this is there's an expectation setting problem, right? Like
Hmm.
we don't expect that much out of most women shooters.
Well, I mean, to be fair,
It's
you're just girls.
but there's this idea like, oh, you showed up, good job, honey. It's good job, not that's a great start.
So somebody I used to know referred to that as the condescending head pat, where she would go shoot these matches and she could just fuck a dog on a stage, right? Like she would have a terrible stage, but the general reaction of the audience, because I mean, yeah,
Good
that
job, honey, you
in
showed up.
in the male community, in the male shooting community, we're so desperate to have girls in our clubhouse. We've gone so far away from the girls are icky, we don't want them to play with us, to the we want girls to play with us so bad that we won't dare tell them that they suck even when they suck.
Right. So I think that's part of it is the expectation setting. The other piece of it is the lack of role modeling,
Mm-hmm.
right? So like when I started shooting competitively 8, 9 years ago now, uh, Maria was on the world stage, but that was pretty much, Maria was out there, Jesse was out there, Julie was out there. I think at the time Maria wasn't quite, near the level she's at now. Jesse and Julie were doing well, but they weren't beating the top guys.
Mm-hmm.
So, like,
Well,
what kind of role model do you have to beat the guys, right? Like, how many people at a local match have ever watched a woman take high overall at a local?
hang on, I've
I
probably
mean, I've
shot.
done it, but
I've never seen it.
so I've won division, I've won production at locals, and in IDPA I've won high overalls
Yeah,
at
I
very small local matches. But it's not a common thing,
no, I
right?
mean, because I've been shooting matches since 2008, and I've never, to my recollection, seen a woman take high overall at any match, USPSA or IDPA, and I've never seen a woman win her division at an IDPA match or
Yeah.
a
So
USPSA match. The other
yeah,
thing.
yeah, I've done that, and in fact, I actually know possibly the only woman to have had a stage win at Open Nationals. Not ladies stage win, stage win.
Who was that?
Stacy, what's her last name right now? It's
Does her
Bresolini.
mom have it going on?
But so there's just not a lot of when women look around and they look at other women shooters, like I want to win high lady, and that's a whole other conversation, right? Like I want to be better than the other women. Well, that's not very high bar in a lot of places, and there's no.
First of all, how dare you?
It's true. I mean,
It,
it's outside of in my area, trying to make high lady overall means beating an open master who is a legit open master, but
mhm.
that's not normal in most areas of the country.
Well, and I think that's sort of the thing that now me personally, I feel like female shooters, and again, I am not a woman. Hang on. Yep, still not.
But
I
you
feel
have tried a
like
flashbang.
I have tried a flashbang. I am committed to my craft. I feel like women shooters would be better served instead of trying to win high. Ooh, Casey Cochran used to beat that.
Oh,
I don't know
that's
if she's still
true. What
shooting.
happened to her?
Yeah, because I remember a couple of
That
years
happens.
back
That's another issue. That happens to a lot of women too.
is they show up, they shoot really well, and then they disappear.
Yes.
Well, because let's think about that for a minute. Is all right. So women that were on the scene in 6 years ago, Julie, Jesse, and Randy were the big names. Casey was shooting. Uh,
How about Megan Francisco?
who the fuck is Megan
You
Francisco?
don't remember her? As last I checked, she was open. She made open master too, and was
Right.
shooting as open master. Ron's wife.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
gone.
what happens sometimes is they have kids, and some of them don't come back.
Well, So I'm friends with Dave Savigny and his wife, and she was all the way up to A class, and then they had kids, and she hasn't really shot since then. Which
Hmm.
that's fine. Like you
That's
want to have
cool.
that's your life choice. I'm
But that
not
doesn't happen
hating
to
on that.
guys quite as much. They tend to
Right.
come
We don't.
back.
Well, yeah, mostly because we weren't pregnant for 9 months. We just.
And there's the expectation who's going to take care of the kids and who can
Mhm.
deal with all the family stuff and blah 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 blah
We just
blah.
go around shooting loads into stuff, and then somebody else has to deal with that problem.
I mean,
Intentional, not phrasing. 100% intentional shooting loads. Anyway, so but to get back to the whole, and this is again, this is me, and I could be off base here, but I feel like women and new shooters in general would be better served with the motivation of trying to, win C class or win sharpshooter than they would be trying to win high lady.
so I think that all of those things, whether it's category award or class award, really has to come with the. Good morning,
Bruner just
Ruger.
barked at something and it scared the life out of me. Because when he doesn't
And you
bark,
didn't even have to shoot anything.
right? Come here, buddy.
Um, I think that they're all great interim goals, but they need to be understood as interim goals,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, it's cool to win High Lady. I used to love winning High Lady too. And hey, sometimes I would totally just go win High Lady so I could collect a trophy.
Hey,
Um, but
come here.
that shouldn't be the end goal, and I think that's where the problem comes. I think it's easier in class awards to go, okay, I won C class, now it's time for me to go after B class.
Right.
When you
Because
win
there's a
High
progression.
Lady, right? When you win High Lady, what's next? And I think we need to be a little bit more explicit about, hey, High Lady is cool, but how'd you do in your class, or how'd you
Super
do in
high
your
lady.
division?
They should make a
Super
new
duper.
double, triple high lady. Super secret probation lady.
I
Uh,
once did a set of award listings for a major match, and I think we had like High Lady C class production or something because of the way the numbers worked out.
it's a lot. Okay, so wait, are you saying that high lady shouldn't just be the
It,
highest scoring lady overall in the match?
well, it shouldn't be, because why should we do that? Like, that doesn't make sense when you look at the reason we have different divisions.
Okay, so is there a rulebook justification for it being the highest lady overall? And oh boy, oh, are
You're
you
gonna
gonna
make
get a USPSA rulebook? Is this happening
Oh,
right now?
yes, I am actually.
You
Do
wait,
you think?
you
Of
have a
course I have.
hard copy of the USPSA rules?
Of course I fucking have hard copies of the USPSA
Oh boy.
rules.
Hi, buddy. Hello. Oh, hi. Ruger, come here. Come on. You can do it. Come on, buddy. Come up. It's okay. You're not in trouble.
So, Appendix A2, which is where they do the awards, is
Nerd.
you have to get division status, and you need 5 competitors for division in a level 1 or 2, or 10 for 3 or nationals. And then its division status must be achieved before categories are recognized.
Okay.
And then for all level matches, you need a minimum of 5 competitors per division category, and the approved list is below. So I
Huh.
would say that all the category awards are supposed to be per division.
Okay. Based on your reading of this appendix that I have never ever read, I agree with you.
And it's the same. It's when you go down to individual classes, division status must be achieved before classes are recognized. Nobody awards high A overall in a match.
Right. Well, also, no one. Hey, Ruger, chill
Nobody
the
gives a
fuck
fuck,
out.
but that's a whole other issue.
Right. Well, no one cares about high A overall in a match.
But nobody does that, so therefore, why should we have high junior overall for the match? It doesn't make sense.
Right, so you should actually have high junior production and high junior open.
If the minimum numbers are met, yeah.
Right, which here's a related question. So, the shooting sports has been very desperate to get girls to come play in our super secret clubhouse.
Mm-hmm. And
Have,
kids.
but have we done as good a job with, okay, which when you say kids like that, it sounds
Oh,
weird.
sorry. Juniors.
Thank you. Like,
Juniors.
hey guys, let's get girls and kids to come play with us. Yeah, that sounds fucking weird.
I think junior shooters are actually even more welcomed than women shooters
Oh, for sure.
a lot of the shooting sports. You know, like, I will see I will see them figure out a way to trophy pretty much every junior shooter in a match in some way, shape, or form.
Goddamn millennials with their participation trophies.
And they'll have like a high lady trophy.
Well, girls are icky. But they're not.
What do they do with girl children, like junior girls?
They give them junior trophies. I know Ashley Rourke won high junior in IDPA at IDPA Nationals a whole bunch of times because she was, beating the brakes off people. She's real good, guys. Like if you don't know
really
who Ashley Rourke is,
fix that.
Yeah, fix that because she's good. All right, so last topic, and then we call it.
Sure.
All right. What did you want to bring? Because I've exhausted my topic list. Do you have any current events? Anything fun and entertaining?
Fun, entertaining things. Actually, fun and entertaining for me is I have the last of my fall training coming up.
Okay. Which means you're going to be able to
shoot a lot.
Come to the Miami Open in January?
Maybe.
Come to the Miami Open. Maybe. Do you see this? This right here where the dog is? This could all be yours. This is the guest bedroom.
With pink pillows, even?
Yeah, fuck yeah, pink pillows. I even have some. I can dig some purple. Hey, you know what? I have a purple couch.
All right, I'm there.
Sold.
That's all it took. So I am going on a little road trip at the end of the month, beginning of next month, and I'm going to go shoot 3,000 or 4,000 rounds in class in 5 days of class.
Holy shit, that's a lot.
It's gonna be amazing.
Wait,
so I'm gonna shoot.
You're not going to be in Georgia in October 21st, are you?
No, what's that?
John from Ballistic Radio has his, I don't remember the name of it. We're just going to call it his
technical handgun?
His super high round count bullshit class.
I took that.
When did you, what the fuck?
I was the first person to host it.
What the fuck? And you didn't tell me?
Than you are. I did tell you.
You did not.
Everybody knew about it.
I didn't. Where was I? I probably have to do an Air Force shit. That's probably where I was.
Probably. It was in August.
Oh, yeah.
So
super busy in August.
Yeah, I did that already. That was actually my prep for Area 8.
How was it?
Worked out really well. The class?
Yeah.
Good.
Good? Yeah?
It was good.
You want to talk shit about it on air? Let's talk about it. What sucked? How does John need to fix himself as an instructor?
I thought it was a good class.
Damn it. I know, John. So for people that don't have any context on this, I'm really good friends with John, and I like to bust his balls on air whenever possible. So that's what we're doing right now.
So you're doing that in Georgia. The week after you do that, I'm going to shoot with Gabe White finally.
Oh, are you going to shoot from Appendix, or are you going to shoot your USPSA rig?
So, John Hopman at Filster says he's going to make me an appendix rig for my USPSA carry optics gun.
What the fuck, John? I'm sitting over here crying every night because you and Tom don't make fucking holsters for Berettas, and you're going to make her a 229 carry optics.
226 carry optics.
What? It's all bullshit. It's all bullshit.
And it's going to be purple. Because, what other color is it going to be? All
my feelings are hurt. I want a fucking holster for my... All I want in this world is Dark Star Gear appendix carry holster for my M9A1, but I can't have one yet because Tom Kelly hates me. Hi, Ruger.
So you're probably going to get a production holster, and I'm going to get a custom holster, so it's going to be a one-off.
That's fair. So, where else are you going after the Gabe White class?
So after Gabe White, I am going to go take OpSpec Training's Applied Fundamentals class, which is a 3-day 1,500, 2,000 round class that's entirely, the entire focus of the class is high-speed marksmanship.
That's a lot of shooting.
Yeah, because it's all aimed at getting you to shoot really well, really fast.
I like fast.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go fast.
Yes. So that should be a really good class. Harold Hawkins is teaching it, and nobody's ever heard of him, but they should. And I'm trying to tell him that he needs to embrace the fame that's going to come.
I've never heard of him, which is saying something, because I've heard of almost everybody.
Yes, because about the only training he's doing outside of OpSpec classes right now under the OpSpec banner is for a federal agency.
Oh, well, there you go. There's Oh, hello. Hi, buddy. Hi. I've
Hi,
been
Ruger.
joined by a guest. Everybody, this is Ruger. He is the best boy. I think he
Where's
wants
my
to.
cat?
Yeah, everybody likes my dog more than your cat. Let's be real. Go
Oh,
lay down.
that's not true. Lee likes tuna more than anybody.
I guess. I don't know. Cats are weird. So I will be at I will be at John's class in a couple of weeks in Georgia. That's going to be, I believe it's in Athens, Georgia, but I could be wrong. I don't know if there's still seats available. But
I think there are.
go to Citizens Defense Research page and look for those dates if you guys want to sign up. I'll be up there. And then in November, Veterans Day weekend, I will be here in Homestead, Georgia, with taking Ernie Langdon's class for the second time.
Jelly.
And I'm not saying with my words that I'm gonna game the fuck out of trying to get a coin, but I mean, actually, here before we go, I'll show you my coin
Wait.
rig.
I'm training that weekend too, though.
Where are you at?
I'm going to be at Race Street Range, which is my place, with Chuck Haggard.
And
we're not going to shoot stuff, but I am going to get pepper sprayed.
Like for realsies pepper sprayed?
For realsies pepper sprayed.
Wait, did you volunteer to do this or did you lose a bet?
I actually volunteered to do this.
Have you ever been pepper sprayed before?
There are reasons for this. We'll talk about it next time we're on this.
Have you, okay, agreed, next time. Have you ever been pepper sprayed before?
I have not been pepper sprayed. It's going to be miserable. I understand this.
It's the worst. I'd rather let somebody kick me in the dick than get pepper sprayed. No joke. Like right in the pills. It's the worst. So have fun with that.
Thanks. But then I get to play with flashlights with Chuck Haggard.
That doesn't sound like a good trade. You get pepper sprayed and then you get to play with a fucking flashlight? What planet is this a good idea? Hey, Ruger, dude, quit it. God,
anyway, that's going to end out my training year because I was going to try and do Ernie Langdon's class in Arizona in December, but that sold out before I had a chance to make it work.
I mean, and to be fair, guys, if you're not trying to get into a Langdon class, why?
You're doing it wrong.
You're fucked up. Like, fix your life. I mean,
he's on my list for next year.
Have you taken one of his classes yet?
I haven't been able to yet.
Yeah, okay. Well, you know, if I had known, but you already had the Haggard class, so never mind.
Yeah.
So interestingly, Chuck is on my list of trainers that I want to train with that I haven't had the chance to. So I need to fix that. You obviously need to fix this. I haven't taken an Ernest Langdon class situation. Yep. We both should take a Pat Mac class. I think that would be amazing. But the problem is,
I don't want children.
Right? So Pat Mac would get us both pregnant. How'd that happen? I don't fucking know. The only issue I have with Pat Mac classes is I really have no, despite the fact that it fits within my lane professionally, I really have no desire to take a carbine class because I'm going to make a closing point and then I probably should take the dog for a walk. But being good at shooting a pistol has made me good enough at shooting a rifle for my professional applications that I don't really need to take classes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Controversial.
It's basically I have to learn a new manual of arms, but the actual shooting part is, and I have to, for rifle, I gotta learn my dope, but
yeah. So if you're shooting a rifle with a red dot, once you learn the manual, if you're a good pistol shooter and you're shooting an AR-15 with a red dot, once you learn the manual of arms, the shooting out to 300 yards is trivial.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And that's our show.